Hello, trading is closed on August 31st, 2021. Let's start with our disclaimer as we always do. It's my trading plan for tomorrow, 1st of September. Please remember I can be completely wrong and any and all trades should be at your own risk. Okay, let's go over our calls. We said that yesterday's pattern usually leads to a rally. When it doesn't, there's a straight line drop. I wasn't going to predict which of those two things would happen. In fact, if you look at futures, each of them happened. In futures, we moved up sharply here, which is the commonest alternative. But in cash, which is all I really care about, we got the straight line drop. And here's just to review what we said. It said 95% of the time the MEJT optional 4521 target would print. The red line is that target. These just aren't targets. They're support resistance areas. Here they're support. This support's been really tested very many times, and the more times you test support, the more likely it is to break. But it hasn't broken yet. Tomorrow's pattern should have the early low, doesn't mean you won't gap up. This we call for the pattern with the early high, which is what this is. Now we gapped down, hit a lower low, closed over all the lows. All we have to do is maintain it at tomorrow's open to see higher prices print. But there is no guarantee we're going to maintain it because usually this is a negative pattern. And when you get the drop like this, the straight line drop, usually, but not always, there's more of a drop coming. It's not a guarantee on that one. Here's what happened during the day. We had this rally. MEJT said it was false, that price would retrace, which they did. We got a sell signal in the afternoon, and that's already played out. We've traded low enough. Well, the month of August has ended. I don't really trade based on the mark stuff as I used to. It's just failed so many times, but just for informational purposes, I keep track of what it says. In his system, the longer the bar, the more significant the signal, the bigger the move, and the less likely it is to fail. This finishes bar 12 of a combo sell signal. Bar 13 can finish early, and it doesn't have to obey the rules. So unless we gap down, way down, under here, under 44.29, unless that happens, you could count tomorrow as the start of bar 13, which can finish early. And that would be part of a combo sell signal in his work. Let's just review it and go over what it means. Any new all-time high triggers bar 13 of the combo sell. Doesn't have to obey all the rules. Anything other than a huge drop qualifies as a possible bar 13 completing the pattern. Now this just, when it worked, identifies the area of a top, not the exact top itself necessarily, but it's just one more overbought indicator. The longer the bar, the more significant the signal, the less likely it is to fail, the greater the downside consequences. Of course, bar 13, which is allowed to finish early, doesn't have to finish early. It doesn't complete till the end of the month. And also remember, the signals have failed repeatedly. We've had all kinds of sentiment indicators and other indicators which indicate the market's very overextended. This is a signal which has taken over a year to form. I'm not going to claim it works just because you're overextended. We've worked out of this by consolidating in time rather than dropping in price. Just be aware that's what this signal says. You don't have to risk any money on it at this time. Well, this was the count I'm using. It's a perfectly valid count, but it's not the only count. I really wanted this to be a 5-wave structure because of the impulse, but it doesn't really have to be, particularly when this wave and this wave from last winter have a good fib relationship. It's not the only way to count it. I really don't like to have, here's your ABC with C as a fib ratio to A. I don't like to have expanded flats right at trend extremes like this, but that doesn't really break any rules. You've got good fibs coming out of it, and this actually looks more like the end of an A, and this looks more like the end of a B. So I'm not saying this is the right count, but it's a valid count. And if it's the right count, wave magenta C equals wave magenta A right here, and everything looks very pretty. Doesn't mean this count has to work. We've had other counts that fail before. But if something happens and we do drop from here, at least you have to be aware we can explain it. If there is no count that works, there probably isn't a top. If there is a count that works, you just have to see if we get a big drop, in which case after the fact you can recognize this for what it is. Well, tomorrow's pattern has the early low. We could gap up. Typically, it's a rally day with a final hour high. Early weakness usually leads to more weakness even if the rest of the day rallies. Today was a negative day. Close overall intraday lows. If we can maintain this through tomorrow's open, we should see higher prices. But if we gap and promptly undercut today's low, the door is open to additional declines depending upon how far down such an opening drop goes. We've been in caution mode for quite some time. The market just keeps going up, and I'm not calling a top here. I don't have enough, but if we have a steep drop, if that happens, you could look back on this and say things are in place. I'm not convinced that's going to work, but I'm aware that if we do have a steep drop, then that's an if. I can justify a bigger drop than we've had in over a year from around the area where we stand now. So we'll see if this support's going to hold or if it breaks tomorrow. If it breaks steeply enough, I don't think the decline's over. If we rally from here, I don't see anything preventing a new high. And that's today's call.